Alright, situation here is there is a hostile F16 directly in front of us, nose hot, co-altitude, and we've got to shoot it down. So we're going to go into this. I will unpause it here, and we're going to get going. So the first thing we're going to do is add power and gain some altitude and flip the radar on into Twiz mode or track while scan. So you'll see here we flip it into radar on and BVR mode, and we switch our target pulse frequency to high to easily pick up, or more easily pick up, nose hot bandits. So we want medium when they are kind of at a notch or not nose hot or cold, when they are at a notch or cold, not nose hot, and a high when they are hot. So hot indicates that their nose is facing you. So you'll see those two dots up at the top indicate that we have picked up a radar contact at greater than 50 kilometers. So we'll continue to push here and keep them tracked. Now we'll continue to gain altitude, and at some point this is going to be a difficult fight for the MiG, and here's why. Put down the mirrors just to keep a little bit more situational awareness, but we're going to go to this F16 of ours here, the enemy, and we're gonna unpause here, and you'll see right around here I decide that I need to go defensive. Why? Because we are well within that AMRAAM range, so he'll have launch authorization before we do, everything else being the same. Being outside of parameters and then closing into parameters. His parameters are further out than mine, meaning that he can launch before I can, at a greater distance. So I get defensive, and you'll see it's a good move because he is about to, or actually, he already has. He already shot that AMRAAM out at us, and we are quite a ways apart. So we'll continue, we dive to defend, we'll go back into the cockpit, that way you guys can see what I'm seeing as we're fighting this missile and this F-16. So there we go, we got him back up on RWR. You can see he's between our 9 and 10 o'clock, and the signal strength is pretty good, and he's co-altitude. So we will continue to defend against this missile. Now, a mistake that I make is I continue to defend this missile too long. I could have recommitted, about 10 seconds before we had defeated this missile by now. The missile's somewhere way over there. We notched it successfully, and it got lost. It went a little crazy. So at this point, we know we're clear, and I decide to retrim the aircraft and recommit. Again, I wait too long to recommit here. This was a mistake on my behalf that could have been more easily punished by the AI. And I didn't really go completely nose cold, being that I didn't get a missile off, and I wanted to be able to recommit relatively quickly, in kind of this crank and starting to become nose on position. You'll see right about now we get him up on radar. He is about 40 kilometers away. We're going to get a track while scan kind of hold on him, and we're going to climb to get a better firing solution. So we are in full afterburner, climbing as quickly as we can in order to get a firing solution with Fox 3. Now, we'll go back out and oh, look at this, perfect timing. The reason he's been able to get a missile out before us is not only because his AMRAAM outranges the R-77, but because I didn't force him to go defensive with that first missile that I was never able to send when he sent his first. Usually, if everything else is equal, you can both send each other defensive, and then whoever gets to recommit first has an advantage. However, he never had to recommit because I never sent him defensive, so he had an advantage here. In terms of firing range and probability of kill. So we'll go back to me, and we'll continue. We finally get him in that launch authorization range, and as soon as I see that LA, I'm going to start preparing for it right here. We're going to roll the aircraft. LA, that quick beeping tone means that his AMRAAM has gone pitbull on me, which means that it is now using its own radar to track me and try and impact me. And you'll see as I unpause here, Fox 3 and defensive. So we've sent that AMRAAM, we'll clear out here, and bang, it's up there on its way, and we will go defensive. Again, we put the missile in the notch. It's a much closer shot because he had a higher probability of kill than me. However, we do manage to send him at least somewhat defensive as we evade this missile. Now here, his missile goes into the ocean, as you can see right there. Bang, smacks the water, we recommit. And this is where things get a little hairy. We'll pause it right here. Now he's closing the distance on me really quickly. And this is the reason why. He doesn't have any AMRAAMs left. If we go under and take a look, he's only got AIM-9s, which are, you know, heat-seeking close-range missiles. And he defeated my AMRAAM, and now he's pushing because he needs to get within range of those missiles. And as you can see, he's nose-hot to me before I am nose-hot to him because of his advantage with the missiles that I previously had spoken about. So we recommit, and right about here, you know, I want to lock him up and I want to get a missile out because I have an AMRAAM. I have a longer range missile than he does. I want range to be my friend here. So I try to lock him up quickly, but I kind of flip out, miss it, finally get launch authorization, and I hit that button and I'm out of here. Bang, Fox 3. That R77 is out. But he also has an AIM-9 out on us, which he got out just before I got my Fox 3 out. So he Fox 2'd, I Fox 3'd in this situation. You'll see I start to flare immediately here. You know, I know that we're close, and this is where my mistake is. I should have jettisoned these tanks a long time ago, because if that missile doesn't hit, I'm in big trouble. The only thing is, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in a dogfight, and you know, this is a case where I forgot about dropping my tanks when I got, you know, within 10 miles or 15 miles. You know, the MiG-29 doesn't have a whole lot of range, and you know, in a BVR fight, it's not too bad to have those tanks on because, you know, being an afterburner and being quick is a good thing. However, when you get, you know, here, you want to be nimble. So we'll go ahead and unpause here, and we'll actually follow. We'll look from his perspective here, out this way, out towards me. So as you can see, his AIM-9 is out. I am flaring, I'm flaring, and here he's dead. He has no chance of evading this missile because when I fired it, it was well within the MAR, so the minimum range in which that missile is going to be extremely effective without being too close. So ideal parameters, essentially, for that missile. The only way to defeat it would be countermeasures or being lucky or having a really good stealth coating for a radar guided missile. Those can be defeated by stealth. However, Fox 3s cannot, or Fox 2s cannot be defeated by stealth because they're heat-seeking. So we'll unpause here, and you'll see I'm flaring, and luckily that AIM-9 goes for some flares, misses me. At this point, he's already been impacted by my R77. So we have a victory.
Pull up.
And we'll go back over here, and we'll speed this up to the landing. Okay. In altitude, and that's where our base is. So, just coming around. We are online here with the airfield, our gear down, and then we'll walk through it right here. So we'll come into the cockpit, and this is essentially the parameters you want are flaps down, gear down, about 5-degree pitch nose up with a 300 to 320 km/h speed and a sync rate of about within very, very low there, within that first bar on the sync rate or descent rate, however you want to say it, just to ensure that we're not dropping like a rock and that we ensure a pretty smooth touchdown. And then when you're here, your ILS is what that circle is, so that tells you the landing point, and your aircraft, getting your aircraft centered to that dot, that floating circle, is ideal in these conditions. Really what I focus on is the height most of the time, given that we'll be impacted by crosswind, and you've got to take that into account. So sometimes it could look like you're off to the right, but really you're tracking straight at it. But keep things simple, crosshair in the circle, good thing. But you want to match up your descent rate. So here it says we're above, so we're projected to go above. I cut the throttle a bit so that we can get below or near to below, cut it even more. And then as I get really close, I like to get a little slow, see how we're at 320, 310. I'm still off the throttle, 300. And then as I see that it'll pick back up, I open up the throttle just a little bit to slow that descent rate. And 3, 2, 1, touchdown. And then keep the nose up, keep the nose up, keep the nose up, and then press P, Papa, for parachute, and then wheel brake, and there you go. You've just touched down a MiG-29.